This is Super Meat Boy, and ever since its release almost 15 years ago, there is one question that has been keeping everyone awake at night. Just which character is actually the fastest? Okay, maybe it only keeps me up at night, because the wiki page for Naija just straight up says that she's the fastest. Like, no explanation, no footnote, just straight up, Naija is the fastest. Just look at that smug little. But is this actually true? Or is there more to it? Today, we're gonna get to the bottom of it. Here I have for you 4 basically perfect runs of the 4 fastest characters in Super Meat Boy. And they're gonna duke it out, so we can finally answer the age-old question, who is the fastest character in Super Meat Boy? And just to be clear, I don't just mean top speed. I mean who can actually beat the levels the fastest. Like, if I were to give you the physically fastest character, that would either be Naija or Runman. And the problem with Runman is that, although he knows how to run, man, he's not so good at jumping, bro. So much so that the speedrun for him is over 4 minutes slower than our first contestant. I already mentioned her, but this is Naija from Aquaria, an indie game by Alec Holqua and Derek Yu. The same Derek Yu who went on to create Spelunky. And if you've seen Meat Boy speedruns, you've seen her. The 106% run basically becomes the Naija show as soon as you unlock her, and for good reason. She has this totally cracked ability that lets her zoom through the air like she just forgot she left the stove on. You see, Aquaria is a Metroidvania, and as any good Metroidvania does, you unlock abilities as you progress through the game. In Naija's case, she gets her memories back of songs she used to know or something. These songs give her special powers. One of these is the ability to change into the energy form we see in Super Meat Boy. So I know you're asking, what does this song actually sound like? Well, it's not in the game, but I was curious, so I dug through the game files and I found the sound that she's supposed to make. Here's what it sounds like. So majestic. Also, this is Naija's official art, and here's what she looks like in the Super Meat Boy art style. Makes you wonder what Meat Boy would look like if he was just a little bit more realistic. Next up is Steve. Yes, that's Steve. From a small indie game called Minecraft? Probably never heard of it. As a child, he yearned for the mines. Now he yearns for blood. And don't be fooled by his middle-aged dad bod. This boy is fast. Okay, maybe not speed-wise. He's slower than Naija, and even Meat Boy beats him in a foot race. But Steve has something no one else has. A pickaxe with 0 respect for level design. Because you see, if Steve doesn't like a level, he just changes it. Everyone else plays Super Meat Boy as a platformer. Steve plays it like a home renovation project. Too many spikes? Build over it. Don't like wall jumping? Tunnel under it. It's not cheating, it's innovation. Next up we have Meat Boy. Huh? Why is he here? The guy's been in an on and off relationship with Bandage Girl for years. He even went back to her after she dumped him for Tofu Boy. And trust me, she left him for good reason. He can't seem to stop Dr. Fetus from kidnapping her again and again. And if that wasn't enough, he actually gets kidnapped himself and has to be rescued by her. How embarrassing. Last but not least, we've got Dr. Fetus, the big bad from Super Meat Boy, who for some reason decided to hop in the race. He moves exactly like Super Meat Boy. Same speed, same jump, same everything. But with one massive advantage. He's completely immune to all hazards. You know, all those things that instantly turn Meat Boy into chunky salsa. Yeah, Fetus walks through them like it's no big deal. It's just like World 6 when you fight him. You can't hurt him, but he can still fall off the map. And since the levels are literally designed for Meat Boy's movement, Dr. Fetus becomes, you know, a better version of the main character. Will this be enough to beat the other racers? So now we know who the racers are, but how exactly did I get these nearly perfect runs? Well, one of them, I made it. That's right. The Dr. Fetus run is a TAS, a tool-assisted speedrun. In this case, I use LibTAS, which lets me do stuff like this. Okay, so here we are in LibTAS and we're gonna cook us up a TAS. We're gonna start with a little bit of a frame advance while we're falling down here. Be careful not to hold right too much. And then we're gonna hold right and jump and frame advance here. You can see the inputs on the right. In there, just like that. Just enough jump, just enough. Oh, a little bit too much. Let's take a little bit of the jumps away. We're gonna go back to this frame here, and we can edit this input to take away some of those spaces. And frame advance here, and I think we're gonna want a space right there, and a little bit of a left input, right here. Yeah, delicious. For Meat Boy, we're using the Any Percent Task by Matt SMB. Shoutouts to Matt, by the way, who helped me out with some tasking questions. And since Any Percent only beats the 17 required levels per world, I'll splice in some single level runs for the others. They're basically all by Crep. For Naija, we'll be using the Naija Percent Task, also by Matt SMB. Let's see if she's all speed or just blowing hot bathwater. And finally, for Steve, we have a segmented run by Bach. They basically played each individual level as fast as possible and edited the footage together. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Meat Boy Rumble. On the top left corner, we have Naija. On the top right corner, we have Dr. Fetus. Bottom left is Meat Boy, and bottom right is Steve. And they're off! The race is picking up at breakneck speed. We can see on the top left here, Naija doesn't even need to touch the ground to get started. This gives her a bit of a lead right off the bat. And they are just zooming, especially Naija. Look at that. Naija is very impressive at these levels, especially this one. Oh my god. It is hard not to look at her. But what's this? How is Meat Boy faster than Dr. Fetus? Well, I didn't really mention this, but the Meat Boy tasser is a lot better at tassing than I am. So we're gonna have a little bit better movement with Meat Boy than Dr. Fetus. Also, there's the fact that Meat Boy can sprint and Dr. Fetus cannot. And that actually lets him navigate a few of these levels a little bit quicker. So a little bit more freedom of movement, not that many obstacles, makes Meat Boy actually do forests faster than Dr. Fetus. Isn't that crazy? I did not expect that when I first started. And oh my god. While I was explaining that, Naija already finished. This is crazy. Who's gonna be second? It looks like Steve is... Whoa! Steve going through the wall there to find the hidden bandage girl. Bet you didn't see that your first playthrough. And Meat Boy just reaching that level now on the bottom left. You can see how much slower it is when you actually have to go through the whole thing. And the characters are just making their way through. Let's see how far behind Naija they actually are. And wow, Steve's showing off exactly what makes him crazy in that last level, cutting through the entirety of those saw cycles that everyone else had to wait for. So what I'm gonna do with these big numbers on the screen is, at the end of each world, I'm gonna add them up to the little number at the bottom of each character. And that's basically gonna tell us how far behind they are from the lead character. In this case, Naija is in first place, so she is technically behind by 0 seconds, so she won't have a number. But everyone else is behind, so they will have a number. If that doesn't make sense, I'm sure it will when you see it. And here we are starting off hospital. Naija once again picks off extremely fast, doesn't even need to touch the ground to get started, and finishes the first level well ahead of anybody else. And Meat Boy is actually leading Steve here up until the third level, but not for long as Steve completely cuts through most of the level once again. It looks like Naija might just pick this one up with another huge lead, unless a miracle can happen. Uh-oh. Steve at the bottom right here playing his favorite level with the big gaping hole. And while I was saying that, Naija with a really cool strat here going around the floor of this level. Steve is actually not too far behind Naija, even overlapping levels sometimes. But it seems like Naija's lead gets bigger and bigger. Everyone but Naija actually on the same level right now. Seems like Steve has a bit of a lead on the other two, and Meat Boy and Dr. Fetus are neck and neck. We can see Steve on the bottom right here, just cutting through those walls that other characters would have to jump over. And he just does it again and again, picking up a huge lead here over the other characters with that keyhole. And another one here. Everywhere, Hospital just so happens to have a bunch of keys that Steve very much likes. And he already caught up to the same level. Oh my god, he just passed up Naija. This isn't pre-watch, this is the first time I'm watching this, I promise you. No, but for real though, it's shocking every time how fast he passes her up. But then Naija passes her up right back. Steve is gonna need a miracle to catch up to her again. Oh my god, Naija's waiting for that huge cycle of keys. And Steve immediately passes her up again. These guys are neck and neck, passing each other up back and forth in the hospital. It's getting down to the wire. This is gonna be close. Who's gonna win hospital? Oh! Unbelievable. Naija wins it by 0.29 seconds. Now, the other question is, who's gonna beat it between Meat Boy and Dr. Fetus? I'm not gonna lie, I lost track of which levels each of them are on. Oh, never mind. It looks like Meat Boy is a little bit ahead. Is there going to be a level that Dr. Fetus can use to pass Meat Boy up at the end? Well, if there is a level, it ain't this one. Meat Boy just zooming already in the last level in hospital. It's looking like a Meat Boy show for the last couple of levels. Yep, that does it. Dr. Fetus is not quick enough. Or I should say, I'm not quick enough with Dr. Fetus. Whoops. And there we go. 6 seconds behind Meat Boy is Dr. Fetus. Hospital starting off. Naija wins the first level the quickest. Big surprise. But will that last long? Is this epic foreshadowing? We'll have to see. Oh, Steve already passes up Naija. And here we have Dr. Fetus at the top right, running all the way through those salts. He's definitely going to make up time on Meat Boy in this one. Oh, and while I was talking about that, Naija already passed up Steve. Is Steve going to be able to pass up Naija once again like he did in hospital? Is Steve going to be able to win any world at all? Well, these couple of levels are definitely a good sign for him. As he cuts through these walls here and creates a little shortcut. And he cuts through this keyhole here, skipping the entire level. And cuts through everything here, so he doesn't have to zigzag on the way down. 3 quick ones. Boom. Naija completely... Oh my god, did you see that? Naija completely went through those saw blades. Just threading the needle. And speaking of threading the needle, she's about to do it again in the spitting saw level. You see? I told you. Oh, but look at Steve. What's skipping a saw compared to skipping an entire level? But Naija's just too quick. I don't think he's gonna be able to catch up to her. Just look at that. Wow. Naija on her own is pretty fast, but add meta SMB and add tasks to it, and it just gets otherworldly. Picking up big time, going through those keys. Making up big time, going through those walls. Making up big time, breaking through those locks. And making up huge time going through that wall. And out of nowhere, Steve is on the last level of salt. Naija is nowhere to be found. Just how far ahead is Steve here? Naija still has to wait for those locks to unlock. Oh man, Steve makes it out 7 minutes ahead of Naija. Unbelievable. This isn't enough to catch up to her, but it's definitely huge progress. If he can keep this up, he might just make it back. And on the other side of the race here, we have Dr. Fetus well ahead of Meat Boy. It looks like Salt is the great equalizer, bringing everybody together. And Dr. Fetus is already in the last level, followed closely by Meat Boy. It doesn't look like he's going to make up too much time on him, but he definitely has a substantial lead here, at least a couple of seconds. What amazing, immaculate gameplay it took for Dr. Fetus to get ahead of Meat Boy by 3 seconds. Wow. And Naija going up to a huge start here at the beginning. Big surprise. I'm beginning to think this is a trend. And Naija just completely dominates these vertical levels. They are quite a sight to watch. Kinda cool how both Naija and Steve completely cheese 4-2. And Naija's lead seems to be growing bigger and bigger. It's gonna take quite a lot for Steve to catch up to her, even though we just barely started hell. Meat Boy leading Dr. Fetus? Not that much of a surprise. The early hell levels don't have too many obstacles in them. And my god, did you see Naija just completely cheese 4-7? He didn't wait for a single cycle. But Steve himself, being no slouch here, keeping 1 level ahead from Fetus and Meat Boy, and falling no more than 3 levels behind Naija. This world is also full of a lot of saws and lava. I think that this may be... Oh man, did you see that? That was the 1 level, I think, in the game that Dr. Fetus does faster than anyone else, because Steve cannot build over lava, unlike in the actual Minecraft. Sorry, Minecraft fans. There is no lava chicken in Super Meat Boy. Oh, what's this? What is Steve doing? Steve is catching up to Naija big time. He just came up. He just caught up like 3 levels. He's almost in the same level as her. Oh man, he's only 1 level behind. Oh no, sorry, 2 levels behind. Now he's 1 level behind. And Naija's waiting for the super slow elevator. Steve doesn't need to wait for that elevator. And Naija here has to go through many rooms. Steve only has to go through 1. Oh, 0.78 seconds behind. Naija was just too quick. The lead that she got in the beginning was a little bit too much for Steve to handle. And watch Meat Boy just play around these bullets that are trying to hit him. Blink and you miss it. There's so much going on the screen, especially with Meat Boy. The gameplay that Madison B brings to the table in this task is just unbelievable. Oh, but look at that. This is why Dr. Fetus is in the lead. Just completely ignoring the cycles that have anything to do with lava. And here Meat Boy once again has to wait for the super slow platform. Just gonna play with the bullets because he likes it. And Dr. Fetus ending hell way ahead of Meat Boy. A whole 2 levels ahead. And they're 2 of the longest levels in the world. Will this be enough to catch Dr. Fetus up to Meat Boy? And zooming through that level, the intended way, but still zoom in. Meat Boy is still a very fast character. The commentator says, as Meat Boy is in last place in hell by over a minute. Moving on. Naija once again. Can you believe it? Off to a head start. It's almost like these beginning levels are a little more open, and the levels start getting a lot more walls later on into the world. Steve catching up a bit. He's neck and neck with Naija. Naija pulling a little bit ahead on 5-3. And way more ahead in 5-4, beating it almost before Steve can even start it. But Steve's gonna make up huge time on 5-5 because he doesn't need to wait for those disappearing platforms. You can see on the Meat Boy and Fetus side what that level was supposed to look like. And oh, Steve is gonna cut completely to the end of the level. And he's gonna make up a lot of time. Oh my gosh, Steve just zoomed past Naija. Didn't have to wait for the elevator. Broke straight through to the end. Didn't have to go to the complete other side of the level to open those locks. And once again, doesn't have to make this detour to press that button. I don't think Steve has had this much of a lead in any world ever. And Meat Boy and Dr. Fetus waiting for the elevator. Riveting gameplay. Meanwhile, Naija, through some voodoo magic, skipping literally 4 cycles of that key drop. And Meat Boy and Dr. Fetus are still at the elevator. My god. Steve completely skipping this big gaping hole. He handles them better than anyone. And Steve, for the first time in this race, mid-world, leading Naija by 3 whole levels. And these aren't just any levels. These are Rapture levels. The biggest in this race. Oh, Naija's gonna completely zoom through this maggot level. Nobody can even get close to that fast. But no one can get close to as fast as Steve does this level with the locks. Every other character has to wait for them to open very slowly. Steve is already in the second last level in the game. He's a couple of levels ahead of Naija. And Naija needs to wait for these disappearing locks. Steve is gonna zoom completely past her. Oh man, how much of a lead can Steve get? Is it gonna be enough to beat the lead that Naija already has? Steve cutting through the floor here. Finishing 620. Naija's still halfway through the second last level in Rapture. But oh my god, look at her go. Just zooming straight through onto 520. This level's pretty open though. Naija can get this one pretty quick, but she needs to wait for these bullets. And zooming through. Oh my god. Naija is behind by just a couple of seconds. I think they're gonna have to revise the wiki. And we need to wait for Meat Boy here to finish waiting for these locks. And oh my god, Meat Boy is ahead of Dr. Fetus. Uh-oh. Shoutouts once again to Madison B for his godlike task gameplay. This task that I made with Dr. Fetus took me forever. And it is about 1/10 as optimized as his was. So I can't imagine how long his Meat Boy task took. And his Naija task for that matter. Absolutely amazing stuff. And Meat Boy is at the last level. He's about to finish. There we go. 1 minute and 7 seconds behind first place, which is Steve. Dr. Fetus close behind. 10 seconds behind Meat Boy. And there we have it. We've got Steve in first place. Naija, 7 seconds behind him. Dr. Fetus, 3 minutes and 10 seconds behind that. And Meat Boy, 7 seconds behind Dr. Fetus. Kinda cool how Steve and Naija and Fetus and Meat Boy are both 7 seconds apart from each other. So before we go, I want to show you some graphs. I have heard that most people can't actually read graphs, so comment if you can read this. First off, we've got this graph that shows how long each character took in each world, dragging behind the first place, so Naija's not going to show up in Forest because, she's 0 ahead of herself, if that makes sense. And it's kind of cool here, you can see in Hell, Meat Boy took way longer than Dr. Fetus. And if we look at this next graph, we can see that in Hell, that's actually where Dr. Fetus passed Meat Boy up. As for the other two, it's pretty obvious. Steve passed Naija up in Rapture. Naija got a huge lead in Forest and pretty much kept it all the way until the end. And that's it for me for this video. If you like this kind of stuff, please subscribe. Maybe one day I can hire an editor. I'm almost at 11,155 subscribers. Very exciting. Please subscribe so I can reach my 11,155 subscriber goal for the 11,155 subscriber special.